All right, Miles, welcome so much to Dope Nostalgia. We do a podcast about the 90s and what people are doing now as well. Um, so Fastball, Grammy nominated band. Did you feel when you were starting out with Fastball and putting the band together that the impact of the grunge era was affecting the music you were trying to put out? Or
No, not really. I mean, that was kind of a cool time in radio uh, when we first started. You would hear very strange songs on the radio, like Chumbawamba, and I don't even know who sings it. Do you remember that song? How bizarre! How
yeah,
bizarre!
OMC, right.
Okay,
Yeah,
who is OMC?
OMC, yeah, they're from New Zealand.
Right. So you'd have all these different weird songs that were hits.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, it just seemed kind of wide open what would be a hit, like Lump by Presidents of the United States of America. You
Yeah.
know, there was weird, there was unusual stuff that would become big hits. So it wasn't like I thought, oh God, everything's got to be like grunt. I guess there was a backdrop of that. Like
Mm-hmm.
I was in a band called Big Car before Fastball, and we got a record deal in 1991, and we were finishing our record right when Pearl Jam and Nirvana and all that stuff just blew up. In fact, I remember hearing "Smells Like Teen Spirit" on the radio every day while we were trying to finish the record. So that was interesting to watch the sea change, and I mean, luckily we weren't a hair metal band. I don't know
True.
how that would have affected me if I had. I've always been very eclectic with music. I've always enjoyed all kinds of music, and I've never had a particular certain kind of, in my mind, a certain kind of style or something. In a way,
Yeah.
I always envied bands that knew what they were all about. Man, we're like a metal band, or we're
Mm-hmm.
a grunge band, or we're a ska punk band. Like to me, that it would be easier. You could just go. You could be lumped in with all the other ska punk bands and be part of this tribe. I've never
Mm-hmm.
felt that way. So,
Uniqueness is good, but sometimes it's lonely.
well,
Yeah.
I do always envy those bands that could be part of like the X Games or any kind of thing like that, where they're okay. Let's just start with skateboarding. If somehow skateboarding ties into your whole deal, that's a giant subculture of people that love to skateboard and surf probably too. So there's a whole lifestyle. If you can be part of a lifestyle and your band is part of that lifestyle, that's amazing. I envy that. Like the Grateful Dead had that, right? This giant, there's all these people that are into a certain type of living, and your band fits their ethos perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
So you get all these people. It's like Jimmy Buffett does the same thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy Buffett or Kenny
That's
Chesney,
true.
no shirt, no shoes, no problems. It's like I'm rich and I'm going to the beach. That's kind of like the vibe, right?
And
So
I feel like fans of those who are in those groups too, they don't just like your music, they're invested in your music
yeah,
at that point.
I mean, it's an amazing thing. I'm very envious that my band and my music couldn't easily tap into something like that. But we weren't. Nothing was premeditated. Nothing was like, oh, we're going to do this and then we're going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's more like we want to make really good music and do it for a living. That was as far as I went. Sort of.
I'm a big fan of your melodic choices too, and some like the harmonies and such. I really enjoy that. A song like The Way, where were they going without ever knowing the way? A lot of people don't realize that that was a song about a couple who got lost.
Yeah, it's true. I do think people somehow picked up on that.
Some.
I think that the story somehow, there was something kind of subliminally creepy about the song, I guess.
Hmm.
Again, we didn't think it through that much. Tony wrote the song and read a newspaper article and wrote a song based on the article, but it wasn't supposed to be a blow by blow account of what happened at all. It was just, I think, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I feel like in some part it was him fantasizing about being able to run away with his wife. But they were, I think at the time they were having a baby, like just ran off and left it all behind him. This kind of freedom from all your obligations and all your problems. Whatever the reason, that song translated like across the board. I've had so many people say, that song's about me. That song is my life.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, did you drive off the road in Arkansas? Like, what do you mean? That's your life. But they're saying, oh, they made up their minds and they started packing. I changed jobs. I decided to move cross country and take the leap, So the song is super open to interpretation. And I think
I'm glad to hear how many people it inspired, and those lyrics meant a lot to them. I love that. What's one of your most memorable performances that you guys have had as a band? And are you still with the original lineup?
Yeah, it's still the original lineup.
Nice.
I mean, just recently we played in Louisville, Kentucky, and that was like one of the best shows we've ever done. It was just, the crowd was insane. It was like sold out, and it's just, you could just feel it in the air. I mean, Tony and I went and had a really nice French dinner before the show at a French restaurant in Louisville, Kentucky. It was amazing. And you could just feel it in the air, like it's something's going to happen. It's going to be a great night tonight, and it was. Another great show we did was in Valencia, Spain. We played in Spain, and that audience was insane, like rabid, crazy fans. So those are great shows. I mean, usually it's pretty fun, but there are ones that stand out in your mind. I remember that dressing room in Valencia was like a shoebox. It was, at the time we had we often have an auxiliary musician, so we had an auxiliary bass player. So it was the four of us, literally with our feet like that. Two guys this way, two guys the other way. That was all the room there was. I mean, it was so tiny in that room. You could barely walk around. It was just off the stage, but there was nowhere else to go.
Yeah. With live performance, and of course in the studio too, what's some of your favorite gear that you use? What brands are you loyal to?
Oh, I like Vox amps and Fender bass amps.
Yeah.
I like Gibson guitars and Epiphone. Yeah, Gibson mostly. And I like Martin acoustic guitars. I am pretty loyal. I don't know why. I feel like I should get a Telecaster.
Yeah.
But I never do. I never have. I feel like that's a really good guitar for like playing the kind of music we play, just in terms of just banging something out. Springsteen plays the Telecaster, Joe Strummer plays the Telecaster. There's lots of artists that I admire, and I essentially play the same kind of way. I'm just kind of almost like it could be an acoustic guitar, but I just never have. Telecaster is super. It's got a super distinct sound to it that maybe is a little too bright for me or something. So I don't use it. I don't know. You find the things you like early on, and then it just kind of sticks with you.
It's like that with almost anything. That's for sure.
Yeah. I use Tide detergent.
Me too.
And
nothing else.
And I couldn't tell you why. I don't know how they got to me, when they got to me, what subliminal advertising they used to infiltrate my brain, but laundry detergent is synonymous with Tide. That's what I buy. That's what I go looking for. I don't like it if they don't have it. It's not like it's not going to work if it's not Tide, but I'm always like, it's just some other brand.
I know. I never pick up any other kind. I look at the aisle and I'm like, no.
Looking for the orange thing. They're looking for the orange and blue. I don't know how that works.
I don't know. For me, it's sensitive skin. I find that Tide doesn't affect me. And the other ones kind of give me like little itchy sometimes. So
Really?
yeah, Tide seems to be better for my skin. Don't know why.
You ever think about colonial people and the way that they lived?
Yeah.
I think about it. They wore a lot of clothes.
True.
They didn't, I mean, just think about being, like, I think about being a colonial man and getting dressed in the morning. You had
Mhm.
to get like those little knickers on, those pantaloons, and like the big long socks and the buckle shoes, and like wear a wig. You had to put a wig on. How weird
Mhm.
is that? And all these different clothes. And there was no laundry detergent. There was no Tide. There was no washing machine. You must have
It's true.
you must have reeked. You know, you live in a little cabin out in the woods. I mean, you know,
It's true.
that must have been rough. You'd think they wear less clothes. You'd think they would dress more like we dress now, like with t-shirts and
Mhm.
athletic type of gear. It's just more loose fitting, like, yeah, what do you want? There's no laundry, you know, very formal. Everybody was very formal. You had to be dressed
Layers and layers of
like
clothes.
clothes.
Yeah.
I don't even know where you got the clothes. Where did you get the clothes? There's no clothing store. You had to have that stuff.
Maybe you had your own seamstress if you were like rich,
I guess it's
possibly.
crazy to think about. I think about this stuff a lot.
I was gonna go on to talking about The Harsh Light of Day
Okay.
and work, which is a fantastic title. I absolutely love it. Um, I do.
I think it was a self-fulfilling prophecy. I think you have to be careful I think things have a way of becoming an affirmation or something. So I kind of wish we called it something else. But
Oh,
you know, all the pain money can buy is also kind of dark. So whatever.
well, they're both good titles.
Yeah,
They're memorable.
yeah.
Now you
So
got to, sorry, go ahead.
I didn't mean to distract you. What were you gonna say?
Oh no, I was just gonna say working with Brian Setzer and Billy Preston on this album. How did that all come into play?
That was all the producer's idea, you know, like,
Mhm.
we should get Billy Preston would be good for this, or Brian Setzer would be good for that. The Brian Setzer thing was really great because he hung out. Like Billy Preston was real businesslike and just came in and did the thing, and we didn't really get any hang time with Billy.
Mm.
But Brian Setzer was down for the hang, and he even showed me. They have that great song called "I Won't Stand in Your Way."
Mm.
And I learned the solo, but I just learned the solo kind of by ear. I didn't sit down with the recording. So over the years, I kind of learned the solo, and I wanted to show him that I knew the solo, and I played it. And he goes, "Oh, that's cool. I play it like this." I was playing it totally wrong. I think I was in
Huh.
the wrong key. It was really funny. He was just so nice and super cool and a great guitar player. Gosh.
Good
So I remember
experience.
that day.
Yeah. What album track throughout all of your albums do you believe should have been a single? One of your favorite deep cuts?
Oh, I don't know. There's a song called Black Rain that was only a B-side on the All the Pain Money Can Buy. And I don't know why we didn't put it on the record. It was my song, and I think it was my idea not to put it on the record.
Hmm.
I don't know why I changed my, or why I thought that song has a really strong chorus. Like if I listen to it now, I don't really know what I was thinking. It's hard to know what you were thinking at the time. It was so
Hmm.
long ago, but for whatever reason, that one didn't. I guess I would point to that one, because nowadays the word single is kind of meaningless. You know,
Yeah.
it's not like it was. Um, it just isn't. I mean, I guess if you're Harry Styles, you can still think in terms of singles. You know, because if
Mm.
you release something, they're going to play it. But for so many bands, you know, getting on the radio, and what is the radio? I mean, the radio is so segmented now that it's almost meaningless. You know, when I was growing up, you heard everything on the same radio station. I
Yeah.
heard Whitney Houston, I heard Madonna, I heard the Scorpions, I heard Def Leppard. You know, you did have rock stations, but the pop station would play any song that was big enough to be on the pop station. So
Mhm.
you would hear that Scorpion song, "There's No One Like You," or you would hear "Photograph" by Def Leppard on the
Mhm.
pop station. You would, because if it was a hit, it was a hit.
Yeah.
At some point, that changed, and then it's like, well, no, we only play cool hip alternative bands on this station. Oh, over here, we only play massive, you know, dance and hip hop tracks on this station. You're
Mhm.
never gonna hear Beyonce on the same station that you hear, for the most part, you know, Wet Leg, or you know, there are some stations that blur a little bit. They'll play
Mhm.
Beyonce, but then they won't play. You know, I'm kind of out of it. I don't know who her contemporaries are. They're a little more like full on urban singers. They're not going to play.
Yeah.
Beyonce has all this cachet, so she can get played on the stations that'll play Jack White. But they're not
Mhm.
just gonna mix the genres together. And when I
Mhm.
was a kid, they would. You'd hear all kinds of stuff. I heard all kinds of music. I didn't have to go looking. It was all on the same station, and I thought that was a way healthier thing. But on the other hand, people today have access to all kinds of music, and that's mind blowing. Like that, you on your phone, you can listen to anything you want, and it's there.
There's
You can go listen to Fela Kuti. You can go listen to Miles Davis. You can listen to, you know, James Brown. You can go listen to James Taylor. Like it's all there. Anything you're curious about, anything you're remotely curious about, you can find, and you can find stuff from way long ago and stuff that just came out yesterday. So it's pretty, that much is amazing, but you don't have anybody, you don't have a curator kind of
yeah.
pointing the way. So it's easy to kind of get lost, I guess. Or
True.
figure out what, I don't know. I don't know. I guess everybody just, whatever age you're born into, that's normal for you. So
The accessibility is a nice thing, but it is interesting not having radio station telling you exactly what you should be listening to in the same way. And I feel like the advent of Sirius radio splitting up the genres like that too. The satellite radio probably had a lot to do with that as well.
it just got really, really fragmented.
Mhm.
Um, there's no collective experience culturally anymore like we used to have all the time. When you know, when I was growing up, when Star Wars came out, everybody talked about that for 2 or 3 years. Like that was the
Yeah.
biggest. It was the most mind blowing film, and it was such a phenomenon, and it stayed in your consciousness for a long, long time. It was in the theater for a long, long time. And things were just much, much bigger and much, much more mysterious. You know, when Nevermind came out, that was easily a year where everybody was talking about Nirvana. If you could feel the whole, you could feel the grunge thing, like you were talking about.
The shift.
The age of grunge. What rock phenomenon has there been in the past 10 years that even comes close to that? There's nothing. There isn't. There's bands, but there's no collective like boom. This is what's going on right now.
No, everything seems so buried because there's so much of it everywhere. It doesn't feel like everything's a real event anymore.
No, nothing's an event anymore. Everything's over. Everything is so quickly consumed,
Mhm.
and on to the next. And it's just the way we consume music and art and film is totally changed. Everybody's going to consume it on their own time, not on the time, you know, Doesn't really matter when the record came out or when the movie came out. They watch it or have it whenever they want to watch it. And also, people binge watch, they go through stuff real fast, on to the next thing, you know? There isn't any shared experience because everyone's on a different timeline and kind of,
That's true.
it's
We used to
really,
be here. This show's going to be on Monday at 7 p.m. and everybody's going to talk about it the next day.
yeah, I mean, when the Joshua Tree came out, there were lines outside Tower Records to wait for the midnight release, or Use Your Illusion 1 and 2. There were lines waiting for the record to come out.
Mhm.
Like that's a much different thing than, oh, yeah, it's out. Oh, it's out now? You can go to your phone, the whole record's there. You're
Yeah.
like, it's out? Really? Yeah, it's out. Oh, cool. You start listening, and then you're like, yeah, I'm gonna go do something else. You know, it's there. I'll come and check it out whenever. It's just, everything's different. It just is. So that collective experience, though, oddly, I think it's what is contributing to the breakdown in society. Not the feeling like there is no we don't have these things, these cultural things that bind us together anymore.
Mm.
We don't feel connected. Now things are getting very polarized and very strange. And people go into their little rabbit holes on politics and things like that, and all the misinformation and stuff. It's easy for people to get paranoid and freaked out and kind of get very tribal. I was watching a video, I guess it was Stone Temple Pilots playing in 2001, and they're playing in Pennsylvania at the Rolling Rock Concert Theater, and they're really amazing. And I was looking at that audience, I was going, wow, all the bullshit we're putting up with now, none of that existed back then. Can you imagine? You know, I lived through it. It was so great. Like looking back through the rearview mirror, it's just incredible how much simpler life was before all this stuff happened. Really, life was so simple. I even get nostalgic for, like, when you missed a call, you missed a call.
Yeah.
That was that. You missed it.
You could literally be away from and truly free from your phone.
Well, you didn't even think of it that way. You just left the house. And you came back and someone says, so-and-so called. And you go, oh, really? And then, you know, this is even before answering machines. It was amazing. You would miss the call. And if it was someone you really wanted to talk to, you'd be bummed. But
people would knock on your door and you wouldn't be leery of who you're expecting.
Yeah, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know anything. It was tremendously exciting to be in a band back then because the world was such a mysterious place. You know, you didn't have the map on your phone of where the club was. You couldn't find the good places to eat on your phone with the Yelp reviews and how far they were from the venue or the hotel. You would just climb in the van and ride hundreds of miles to the next show, and you have no idea what's going to happen. You have no idea where you're going to eat, and you might even have no idea where you're going to wake up. You would just go and do it, and it was great fun and super mysterious and strange. I miss the simplicity, and I miss the mystery.
I'm glad you brought that up. It needs to be said. It's true. It felt good.
I mean, there's lots of great things about technology, don't get me wrong, but I guess I put on my in my day hat. In my day. But I do, the stuff we used to be able to pull off, you know, we would go to New Orleans and play a show, and then this guy'd go that way and I'd go this way, and there'd be no discussion about, okay, let's all meet back here tomorrow morning. You would just take off, and then you would try to find that was great fun, waking up somewhere and going, okay, wait, they were talking to Charlie. Do you know Charlie? Do you have Charlie's number? You're like trying to find the connection that's going to find you your bandmates, and you're like, we're supposed to leave at noon. I've got 3 hours to piece this together. That was fun.
Now, I was thinking about songwriting too, when you're talking about like how quick people's attention spans are. And as a songwriter, in your case too, I was thinking, do you ever think that since you have to catch people so quickly now with the intro of the song, that there might be more songwriters who put the chorus at the beginning of the song?
I don't know. I'd have to study that as a songwriter and be like anthropological about it and see if
Yeah.
that really is true. I do think you always have to try to catch people, especially if you're thinking, oh, this is a single, or this song wants to be a super hooky, like earworm type of song. I'm gonna try and give it all the bells and whistles. I think it's important to have something that grabs a person as quick as you can. I think it's always been that way.
Mm.
But I don't know if it has anything to do with the way people listen to music now.
Mm.
Um, I feel like people are willing to are willing. The thing is, you put stuff out, and on the one hand, you can say there's so much stuff out there, it just gets lost, and no one's listening to this or that. But on the other hand, it's out there forever. It's out there sitting in cyberspace. If
Yeah.
someone sees your band or likes your band and starts going down the rabbit hole, they might find, and those kind of people are going to be more willing to listen to everything. So it's hard to say. I don't know if things have changed, or if they're the same,
Mm.
or if songs have gotten better or worse. It's really, I can't really tell. Um, It used to be, though, that the only way you were going to get heard was if you were on the radio or if you could go out and tour. Those were the only two ways you were going to get heard. And so you did have to have a certain level of your music had to have a certain level of accessibility one way or another to grab people. If it didn't, you probably wouldn't even get to make a record, right? Because records were tremendously expensive to make. And
Yeah.
so you had to have some sort of record company or someone to fund it, and on and on and on. So it was very much like a sports team or something, oh, he's still a minor league player. Oh, now he's up in the majors, It was like that, where where you're getting all this training and education all the way up. There was an infrastructure. There was a thing called the record industry that
Hmm.
could foster talent, that would put out the money to give you a chance, and then you could quit your job and do whatever it was. You could pursue your career without having to worry about making a living for a few years. Eventually, they were either going to drop. You better have a hit, or they're going to drop you or something. But you got a few years to hone your craft. I don't. As far as I can see, that doesn't exist anymore. And I don't know how young musicians do it. I have no idea.
Yeah. It seems like it's a huge ocean they're wading into, because there's just, like we've said before, so much out there to consume. Plus, anybody can record it now. Anyone can. It's, get your own equipment and you can do it too. Doesn't mean it's going to be of high quality, but anyone can do it.
Right. Yeah, anyone can do it. That's why it's so crowded, is because anyone can do it. There's no barriers to joining the thing. And so there's all these different levels of there's people that are good, and then there's people that are not so good, and then there's people that probably shouldn't be doing it at all.
Yeah.
And I hate when people grumble about, like, oh, when people grumble like music is some kind of they act as if they're a janitor and they're getting paid less than the other janitor.
Yeah.
There was someone complaining about, like, my band, we've been struggling for 10 years and it's just not fair. Meanwhile, there's other bands. I'm like, well, they're better than you. They're better than you. People like them more than you. I don't know why. Okay, but they do.
Yeah.
It's called free market. It's called entertainment business. Like, it's not like, no, I'm a janitor, he's a janitor, we both do the same. No. It's not like that. No, no.
Here's the cold,
They
hard
have
truth.
way better songs than you. They sing way better than you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's not like sports, where sports you can define how fast is his fastball, how many how many RBIs, how many you've got all the stats.
This is math.
Yeah, there's math to it where you can assign a value. In music, thankfully, it's not like that, but there still are these realities of like, yes, he's a great singer. Are you still wondering why so many people like him? It's because he's a great singer, or he's a great songwriter, or he's just got something that people like.
Yeah.
There's no explaining it, but don't act like everyone should get paid the same. That's not the way it works.
No.
Sorry.
It's true.
Yeah.
What's in your songwriting experience, what's one of the best or one of your personal favorite songs you wrote for another artist?
Well, I wrote this song. It's not very widely known, but I wrote a song called "Even If It Takes a Lifetime" that I can't know how her name's escaping me now. This woman covered, and I thought she did a great version of it. I mean, you can look it up, but she did a great version of it. That's one of them. I mean, frankly, I'm happy anytime somebody cuts one of my songs, so I'm not picky about it. It's always really flattering to hear someone do the words you wrote or the melody you wrote.
And put their own personal spin on it.
Yeah, it's true. It's great. It really is nice.
Are you still based out of Austin?
Yep.
Tell me a bit about Austin City Limits.
Well, what do you want to know?
Have you guys performed there at all, or have you attended?
Never.
Have you attended it?
I've attended it a lot, and I'm not really a fan of it because it's just not my scene. It's too big, and you're not. I have a thing about live music. I want to see it live. If I watch live music on a television, okay, like you're so far back that you're watching the Jumbotron, that to me isn't live anymore. You're watching TV. You're standing in a field watching TV. The band is way over there, and they're like that big, and the music's several seconds old by the time it gets to you.
True.
Whatever, I'm exaggerating, but it's not live music. It's not like there's a difference between being right there, close enough to see the person's face, and being way in the back, watching on a Jumbotron. To me, that's like, it doesn't excite me. So that festival is very much like, unless you're a little kid and you get there at noon and stand, go stake out your spot and stay there the whole day, you're not going to get close. I'm certainly not going to get close. I don't have the patience or the desire to try to push my way through. But I've gone many times. The favorite time I went was I got to see Depeche Mode, and for whatever reason, the youngsters there didn't really want to. They weren't that interested. I think the festival kind of miscalculated. So Depeche Mode wasn't as crowded as it should have been. So I was able to get right up close, and they were amazing. So that was a great one. And it wasn't too crowded. It was very pleasant. But most of the time, you're just miles and miles away from the music. And I remember I was watching the B-52s at one of the ACLs, and they were like, so like a football field away, and I'm standing there, and there was a guy next to me with his date, and she goes, "Have you ever seen the B-52s before?" And he said, "I still haven't." And I thought,
well played.
That's exactly right. I still haven't seen them.
An intimate venue is always going to be superior.
Yeah. I also, people love to bitch about how expensive ticket prices are to see people like Paul McCartney and Bruce Springsteen and the Rolling Stones. And I'm thinking to myself, that's because you want to see someone towards the end of their life and they know they can charge whatever they want because this might be the very last time you get to see them. And
Mm,
everybody feels the same way. And you already know all their songs and you've already spent all this time with their music. So yes, they're going to charge you an arm and a leg and you're going to bitch about it, but you know what? You're going to pay it because you don't want to go to some club on a Tuesday night and see who's there.
mm,
There's someone who's the next Bruce Springsteen. There's someone who's the next Paul McCartney in a bar right now.
mm-hmm.
And you know how much it costs to see him? $5, if even. And you can go right up to the front and watch. And like that is where the stars of tomorrow are coming from. And they're there. They're out there right now. They're in. You have to be musically curious and you have to stop wanting to recreate what you already know. There's a lot of people who've already seen Springsteen 18 million times. You've seen him. Do you need to see him again? Really? He's older now than he was when you saw him 20 years ago. Do you need to see him again? Why? Who
Mm.
cares?
I'm really glad you
Completely
said that about like the new bands coming out and how they play to empty rooms all the time because people just don't invest early until th've heard it somewhere else.
Yeah, they want to know that it's already a proven commodity, and then they bitch the ticket's $100. It's like, don't take a chance, go do something, go hear someone you've never heard before. Have an open mind, go see something you've never seen before.
Because I want to talk about the new album, The Deep End, that came out in June. Now, what can our listeners look forward to with the new release? We'll play a clip of one of the new songs on the show too.
I mean, I think it's a great collection of tunes. It's got, it's pretty eclectic. There's a song I wrote called House on the Edge of the World that I really love. But in all honesty, we don't, I myself am not thinking in terms of records anymore at all because of all the things I've talked about earlier in the interview.
Yeah.
People do not consume records the way I did when I was a kid because I bought the actual record. The way everyone, including me, the lion's share of people listen to music just however, they'll listen to one song. That doesn't matter if there's a new album. Very few people are going to sit and listen to the whole record. They're going to listen, they're going to skip around and whatever. So at some point, also, if you put a record out, I mean, the name of the game now on platforms like Spotify is you want to be able to get on a playlist, ideally, right? If you get on a playlist that's a big playlist, like, whatever it is, it's of the 90s or whatever you're gonna attract people, or they're gonna be people that listen to you that weren't going to that playlist to listen to you. They were just going to the playlist, and all of a sudden, or new music Monday or whatever. Spotify has an editorial board. They sit and listen to your record. If you give them a record, they're going to listen to it, the whole record one time, I guess, and then they're going to decide whether they add it or not, and then it's gone. If you take that same record and just put out 3 or 4 songs, you've got 3 at-bats instead of, if you put out 12 songs once, that's one time they're going to give you. If you break it into 3 different releases, you've suddenly got 3 times they're going to give you. So it's in your best interest to spread stuff out. Plus, it turns out that people like it better if there's a steady stream of content than if you put out one record a year. They would rather have, most people want as much as, just like TV shows and everything, just want to keep it coming. Keep it coming.
Something new around the corner all the time.
Give me another one. So like we stopped thinking in terms of records and we were like, we're just going to do EPs and singles. But then we got this tour with Everclear, and then our manager urged us to like, you need to sell a record on the road. So we just packaged it together as a record. And then all these people were like, what a great record. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. Because it wasn't conceived to be a record. I pretty much stopped thinking in those terms.
Yeah.
I just think about songs, and I think about collections of songs.
Mm.
And I don't even think about it all cohering as a work of art anymore, because it's just there are people that still listen to albums, but they're so few and far between.
Mm.
I want to, as an artist, I want to write for what the times are demanding, in terms of not write songs for that, but just release songs in the way that the world seems to want it, you know?
Mhm.
Because I don't want my songs to get lost. So I'd rather have 2 or 3 at a time, as opposed to putting 12 and people only listen to 2 or 3. So that's,
Smart.
yeah, I don't really care as long as people hear the music. So I'm just trying to give the songs the best chance they can get for people to hear them.
I'm glad you thought about it that way. And it makes sense. What do you have coming up? You mentioned Everclear. What do you have coming up for live performances in the future? So
We've
that
got a couple of, we're gonna go do a show in Marble Falls here in a few weeks, and then we're going out to California to do 2 gigs. And then that's really it for this year.
Mhm.
And I don't really know what we're doing next year, but there always seems to be some sort of tour or something comes along, and we're recording. We've got some new music bubbling under right now that we're working. Well, we recorded, I guess it was 6 or 7 songs
Mm.
at this place called the Sonic Ranch, and it's out in the middle of the desert. It's a beautiful studio.
Wow.
We did 6 or 7 songs out there with David Garza, and we're going to record some more, and so all that music will come out next year.
Mm.
So this is the most prolific we've been. We have this thing called, Patreon. You've heard of Patreon?
Yes.
Okay, we have a Patreon. If you go to patreon.com and search for Fastball, you can find it. And we put out a song every month on our Patreon, brand new song. So,
What a great idea.
yeah, so that's really what I'm thinking of in terms of records. I'm thinking about that, because we have to have a new song every month. So like,
Mm.
you can stockpile 12 songs, 15 songs, but then lo and behold, you're going about your life and you're going, oh, we're almost out of songs. We've got 3 more left in the kitty, and then we're screwed. We have to write and record more. So it's actually made us way more productive, because it's easy to put all your time and energy into making a record, and that takes a while, and then you make the record, and then you're getting all, what's the artwork going to be, and what's this and what's that, and you put all this energy into it, and maybe even hire a publicist and do all this stuff. And in this day and age, the record comes out, boom, 3 days later, no one cares anymore. It's like the culture moves so fast.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, okay, this Patreon thing though, these people are waiting. They're paying a monthly subscription fee. They're our biggest fans, just because they're voting with their pocketbook.
Mm.
They're subsidizing all this recording and activity. So I'm thinking about them. I'm thinking there's a new song coming, and I want it to be great. So that's, and then those songs end up down the line becoming what becomes the next record and stuff.
Keeps
So
you on track.
yeah, it does, for sure. It keeps us working. If you look at our productivity level, if you go back, you could see back in the old days of the record industry, we put out a record in 1996, we put out a record in 1998, and then we put out another record in 2000. And then we parted ways with that label. Then we put out another record in 2005. Then we put out another record in 2010. And then we didn't put out another record until, I believe it was 2017. So our productivity slowed dramatically, and the output of music slowed dramatically. And since 2017, it's been headed in the other direction. It's been accelerating. And the reason is things like the Patreon and trying to have a steady stream of content, as opposed to bundling it all up in this one big thing, and then you release it, and then it's gone, and then you're like, it can leave you kind of depleted or exhausted, where because in your mind it's such a big deal. Oh, we're making a record, a new record. If you just free yourself from that thinking that way, and
Yeah.
just think about being creative all the time. You know, one day at a time, 1 week at a time, one month at a time, and just living your life as a creative person, as opposed to like, yeah, we got to make a record. We're going to put all this effort into this one event,
Mm.
and then this one event is gonna, like having a baby, kind of like, oh, it's going to be this big deal, and then we're going to give birth, and then know, I don't think that way anymore. I don't think like that at all. I think, well, it's good to just stay in shape. It's good to be creative
Mm.
and do it, make it a regular part of your life.
It's a happier way to be.
Yeah, it takes the pressure off too. You don't want to be too precious about things. I think it's important to just be creative. And the music comes and the songs come, and everything is so much better when it's just a natural rhythm within you, as opposed to like, oh, there's a lot of pressure. It's all in your mind anyways, unless you're a huge star, maybe
Yeah.
that's a lot of pressure. But for people like us, we're just making music for the people that dig us, and it's not like there's millions of dollars at stake. so
doing it for the passion of it still.
Yeah. Well, I think I've had a really wonderful life. I've had a great life so far. And it's because of music. And there's a lot of room in between someone who has no career at all, someone at the very bottom, and someone at the very top. There's a world of opportunity where you can be doing stuff and you can be making a living. You might not be a millionaire, but you're also not working for a living. I don't have a boss. I don't have to get up at any specific time. I do whatever the fuck I want, whenever.
Yeah.
So that's like incredibly freeing, and it's all because I play music,
Mm-hmm.
So I feel very blessed because I know lots of people who don't. A lot of them are better, better musicians, and better singers, whatever. It's like there's a level of luck involved as well. So I feel very lucky and blessed and grateful that I get to do what I do.
I feel like the dream is like to do what you love and make a living at it, as opposed to being like a huge, massive star. I think I'd be happy just because a lot of people can't say they're doing what they love for their job.
Yeah, most people can't.
So
Most
is a
people.
blessing.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, it is. I mean, I could go down the list of. First off, I'll just leave you with this, because when and all your listeners, because whenever I think about this whenever I'm feeling down. A long time ago, before I ever had any success in music, I was sitting in a car talking to a friend of mine. I was bemoaning the fact that my career was going nowhere and I didn't have any money and blah, 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 blah. And my friend goes, Miles, if the world was made up of 10 people, 7 of them would be starving. 2 of them would be doing okay, and 1 of them would be really wealthy. He goes, you're one of the 2 people, so don't complain. Realize how lucky you are to be one of the 2 people and not one of the 7. And I was like, huh. And it's so true. If you live in the Western world and you're not some sort of, there are people that live at the very bottom of our society. If you're not one of them, if you just have some kind of crappy job you don't like, but you're doing all right, and you can go out and eat on Friday night and stuff, it's like, okay, your life might not be exactly the way you want it, but it's also not, you're not over in some war-torn country, you're not in some horrible, there's so many places in the world where it's just, the situation is dire, and you're not over
Yeah.
there. And even if you live in North America, where are you on the scale? You know, are you at the very bottom, or are you somewhere in between? If you're somewhere in between, you got it pretty good, you know, compared with the rest of the world. So I think about that for myself.
It's good to take that moment and when things are not going your way and look at your personal inventory and be like, yeah, everything's going all right.
Yeah, I think about that a lot. It's good to have gratitude, because when you operate out of gratitude, the world looks different.
Mm.
If you operate out of like the world owes me one, then the world looks different as well. And
Yeah.
that's not a good place to be operating out of, because you're usually pissed off and angry and kind of grumpy and like,
I don't think you can ever be satisfied with that kind of attitude.
yeah, no, it's the wrong attitude to take. The
Yeah.
better attitude to take is, let's see what happens.
Mhm.
Let's see what happens.
Miles, this was a fascinating chat. I learned a lot from
Thank
you
you.
today. So
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I'm really grateful for you taking the time. And
Yep.
all right, good
I
luck with
appreciate it.
everything.
Thank you. I'll talk to you later.
Sure. Take care.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.